All right. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, we're going to have now our offering video in preparation for Pastor Adonia's message. So please sit back and relax. Actually, this isn't a song that you probably would know, but if you do know the song, you're welcome to sing along. But let's just prepare our hearts for the message and for what Pastor Adonia wants to share, and also maybe what God wants to say to us through her.
Familiar highways lined with leaves turn brown, making my way back into my hometown. Funny how this all looks different, but it feels the same. Like how life never stops changing, but some things never change. So fill your plate and fill your drink and fill this house with family, the kind of love that all these years can't wash away. Cause the older that I get, I see that life is short and bittersweet. Thank God for this Thanksgiving Day. Watching football, watching families grow, the old kids' table all have kids of their own. Starting to see my grandfather in my nephew's eyes. Mom still can't talk about him and I'd almost cry. So fill your plate and fill your drink and fill this house with family, the kind of love 1,000 miles can't wash away. Cause the older that I get, I see that life is short and bittersweet. Thank God for this Thanksgiving Day. So fill your plate and fill your drink, put your dishes in the kitchen sink and let the leftover year just wash away. 'Cause we made it through, I do believe, the longest year in history. Thank God that it's Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I heard it on the radio, and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a Thanksgiving song before, so this is a perfect opportunity. And it's catered to this year, the longest year in history. We've almost made it through. So I was thinking about, what to share today and this year around Thanksgiving. And it's, in some ways, for some people, the holidays are often a challenging time of year. If they're not with family, or they have family who's passed away, or if they're estranged from their family, it can be very difficult. But I feel like this year, there's challenges for everybody. And I hope that you have something lovely planned for Thanksgiving. But even if you do, it might look different than it normally does. And I just want to acknowledge that. And I thought about it might be hard for people to want to listen to a message about gratitude this year, for some people. But after reflecting more about really where Thanksgiving came from and what Thanksgiving means, I felt there couldn't be a more appropriate message to give. Just kind of typically, if I hear the word Thanksgiving, what's the first thought that kind of pops into your head, the first image or the first feeling? I think for a lot of people, you hear Thanksgiving and it's like it's connected to Turkey Day, you know? Like you hear Thanksgiving and you think immediately a table filled with delicious food and a roasted turkey, and around the table is all your family, and you get these warm, fuzzy feelings, that the kind of imagery that video gave, you know, it's like all the warm, cozy stuff. We think about family gatherings, and we think about expressing thanks for all of our blessings. It's often kind of secondary, or with a second thought, that we think about where this holiday comes from. And I have to admit that even for me, if I think about where this holiday came from, my mind immediately flashes back to second grade. And I don't know if you did this in second grade, but it was a tradition in our school that in second grade, you recreated the Pilgrim's Feast, right? So half the students would dress up as Native Americans and half the students would dress up as pilgrims, and you'd get canned beans and like really canned corn and a really simple kind of Thanksgiving meal. And we kind of see it through rose-tinted glasses. You know, the Pilgrims made friends with the Native Americans, and the Native Americans taught them how to survive and how to grow their food there in America. And then after a bountiful harvest and a successful harvest, and they celebrated and they feasted and gave thanks to God for all their blessings. And that was the first Thanksgiving. But really, I was thinking about it, that first Thanksgiving came after one of the hardest years that any of those people had ever experienced. I looked a little bit into some facts about the Pilgrims who came on the Mayflower, and there were 102 people who came, Pilgrims, the crew of the ship, and of the original 102, 45 died that winter from cold, malnutrition, scurvy, disease. Just in February, the shortest month of the year, 17 of them passed away. And 4 entire families perished. There was only one family who didn't lose somebody in their family. And there was 18 married women. These are wives, mothers. 13 of them died. Can you imagine? I think from my perspective, if I were to be thrown into that situation, I would think, this is hell. Can I leave now? Can we get back on this boat and go back? Can I, maybe to get away from all this, maybe I could just take my family, I can go carve out my own existence, safe from all this disease and trouble and difficulty. It's like, imagine a coronavirus where everybody caught it and 50% died. Yet, it was after that year that they gathered and they spent 3 days celebrating, singing, playing games, and most importantly, giving thanks to God. And you could say, well, what for? They're almost annihilated. But I realized that that's if we look at that situation and the thanks that they gave, that we can start to see that there's a deeper meaning to the word thanksgiving. My big takeaway from this is that our gratitude doesn't necessarily come from our circumstances. Our attitude of thanks, of giving thanks doesn't necessarily come from the situation that we're in, or the things that have happened to us, or the things that we own, or the things that have been given to us. Even after everything, when every single family, except for one, had buried their mothers, their children, their husbands, their friends, they were incredibly thankful to God for their life, for their freedom, and what else? They didn't have much else, but they had that, and they were incredibly thankful. So, this is a quote by our true father, Reverend Moon. He said, "It is worth spending the rest of your life learning this one thing, to be grateful under all circumstances." And so I'm giving a message on this, and I know sometimes when I heard a message, I felt, oh, I have to implement this, or, oh, that's the way I should be now because I've heard it, or something. But I think there's a clue here. He says, you might spend the rest of your life trying to get there, but it's worth it. It's worth spending the rest of your life learning this one thing, to be grateful under all circumstances. And of course, we should be grateful for our blessings. I think it's so beautiful to be able to acknowledge when you've received something special. The birth of a child, getting married, getting a house, getting a new job. If somebody gives you a gift, absolutely, we should feel the incredible blessing that we've received. It's actually, I think it's very selfish to not be able to be grateful for those things. But we can't just depend on our circumstances or the things that happen to us or the things that we receive to be happy or to find gratitude in our hearts. More importantly, is how do I become the person who is grateful? Whatever is going on around me, like how do I create that within myself? I was thinking about it as kind of like a power generator. Normally we get our electricity because we plug into the power source. Because we have the power source, we can plug into it and then we can have lights and we can do all the things that we need to do. But if the power goes out, unless you have a generator, then you're going to be lighting candles and flushing toilets by dumping buckets through the top. So I like to think of it as being, how do we become our own generator, our own power generator, where it doesn't matter if there's a storm outside or if our electricity is working, but no matter what, I'm a person of love and gratitude and appreciation. It's just who I am. The first thing I recognized as I was thinking about this is, well, if I were to just try to will myself into being that person, I wouldn't get very far. Because I only have so much energy. I can only will myself to love somebody I don't like for so long. Where does the strength or power come from to become a generator? What do you think? What's that? From God, right? Because God is the source. And so if we are relating with God, if we're in a relationship with God, if we're connected that way, then it's like we have our own, it's like we're plugging into the electricity, but it's the eternal, original source of electricity. It's the original, eternal source of love. So it's with that relationship with God that we can find the power to become a generator, right? If I connect myself to that, then there really aren't limits. So you might notice I titled my message Gratitude and Appreciation. And so the last few days I've been listening to our new Continental Director, Dr. Young's morning devotions. And so many times he talks about appreciation. And normally I think I would use the word gratitude, but he uses the word appreciation. And as I listened, I realized that I have a different feeling about that word. There's something different about appreciation than there is about gratitude. And so I was thinking, what is the difference? Because I feel the difference. How can I discern what is that difference? And so I actually looked it up online. and I found a really great kind of definition. Gratitude is when you feel thankful for something. Appreciation is when you show that gratitude. Gratitude is the emotion or the feeling that we get. Appreciation is the action. So appreciation is the expression of our gratitude. It goes beyond just the feeling or happiness in the moment of feeling blessed, but it becomes the substantiation. The substantiation of that love that wells up when we experience gratitude. And something that I felt as I listened to him say appreciation and talk about appreciation to God, appreciation to true parents, appreciation to our parents and our children, our spouse and our neighbors, is that appreciation is love that can be felt. I feel like gratitude is something that I experience if I'm happy or if I feel blessed, and hopefully, even in difficult circumstances, I can feel my gratitude to God. But that's kind of where it ends. That's my experience, my feeling. But when I appreciate that, it's like I'm returning it, and then it's shared. It's something that can be felt by other people. Dr. Young was saying that in our next life, there are no barriers. You can't hide behind your face. In this world, sometimes we can tell somebody like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. But in our hearts, we're like, oh, darn, I wish you weren't here today. We can put on that mask here. But in the next world, there is no hiding, right? And in the next world, if you think about somebody with love, it's like that person is automatically connected to that love. They feel it. They receive it. Here it's a little harder, but at the same time, I do believe that we're not just physical bodies here. And it's not like we have a physical body here and then we turn into a spiritual body in the next life. No, we're simultaneously spiritual and physical beings here, right now. And so even though sometimes my body cannot discern what does that facial expression mean or what does that tone of voice mean, I think our spirits do see that. If we're even just a little bit connected to who we are as God's children and beyond just our physical life, we do automatically know when somebody is lying. But also we automatically know if somebody is truly pouring out their heart and love to us, our spirits just soak it up, and we can't forget that experience. So it makes me think of this quote, probably many of you have heard it before, by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how they made you feel. And I feel like this is not a physical experience. This is when our spirits connect. This is when our hearts are moved because of a love or appreciation that is expressed. It makes me think of, some of you might know Akira Watanabe. He was a leader on our missions program when I graduated from high school. Took a few years to do this missions program. And in the course of my missions program, there are many times I was struggling, trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, or is this right or is it wrong? And many times I would talk to Akira, and I would try to get him to tell me what I should do. What's the right thing? and he would always just come back with a question. Well, what do you think? What would you feel if you did this or did that? But mostly, he just listened. And he didn't just listen to the words that I said. I'm not very good at expressing myself in words, especially if it's something emotionally that I'm feeling. Mike can attest to this. I'll say something, and then he'll be like, so you mean this? And I'm like, actually, no. I think I actually mean this. And he's like, okay, so you mean this? I'm like, not quite, no. It takes me a while to get to where, to express what I'm really experiencing or what I really mean. But Akira, he would listen to my words, and it was like he was like reading in between the lines. And he could see where those words were coming from, and he could receive those words, even if it was coming from an angry place or a sad place. And so honestly, I don't really remember much of what he said. He gave a lot of morning services, Sunday services, a lot of guidance, you know. I honestly couldn't tell you more than a couple sentences of what I remember from 4 years of that. But I'll never forget how he made me feel. I consider him my spiritual parent. You know, many church members consider the person who witnessed to them, who introduced them to God and true parents as their spiritual parent. And I didn't have that experience because I was born into this faith. But I still had that kind of rebirth experience through Akira and his wife, and I consider them my spiritual parents. So then what is important? What is my job in this? My job is to love truly and fully, and to appreciate other people truly and fully, not just in words. Oh, thank you so much. But to do it with our heart. And even though the words might be the same, the heart and the spirit will come through. Because love is what moves people's hearts. I love this little quote in the Divine Principle, and I'm sorry I didn't find it to pull it up for you. But it's talking about the power of love being stronger than anything else. And it says, yes, Jesus tried to raise his disciples through the truth. He spent hours and days and years educating them and giving them parables and explaining what this means. He tried to raise them through the truth, yet it was his love that saved them. And this is something that Dr. Young has mentioned many times too, which I think is so beautiful. Yes, Jesus did miracles. Yes, Jesus loved God so much and loved the world so much that he was willing to die. His blood on the cross. But was it his blood on the cross that saved us? No, it was that love to be willing to do that saves us. It was his love that saved them. So you might be thinking, okay, that's nice, but maybe right now I can't think of a lot to be grateful for. Maybe I didn't have parents who showed me what true love is. Maybe my kids are causing me lots of headaches. Maybe it's hard at work. Maybe I lost my job. Maybe somebody in my family got sick or passed away from coronavirus. There's so many things that we can easily point to in our life as being reasons not to be grateful. But Dr. Young said, even if you had terrible parents, maybe they hurt your heart. Maybe they hurt you physically. Yet, where did you come from? You can say, this is not my parent, but yet you came from somewhere, and because of that, you have life. And because of that, you have an opportunity to find God, to experience true happiness in your life. And so, for that simple fact alone, despite everything else, we can express our sincere appreciation and love to our parents. And I thought that's such a mature understanding of gratitude and love, because that's a simple thing to say, but it's not an easy thing to do. But if we look at it the other way, at our kids, right? Sometimes they can be mischievous, especially our littlest ones. And as they get older, sometimes it's a little bit, the pain goes a little bit deeper. But as a parent, don't we love our children no matter what? Just because you are my child, I love you. And nothing can take that away, right? So that is God's love for us. I feel like we all fall short so many ways. I remember when I was fundraising on my missions program, I was in a factory where they provided job opportunities for people with disabilities to work. And so I was, in a room full of people who had a lot of either mental difficulties or physical difficulties. And I remember my heart being kind of impacted by that. But I realized that from God's perspective, He looks at a room full of people like us. We're all a little bit lacking in our ability to love, right? We're all a little bit love disabled. But it doesn't change God's love for us. This is another quote by Reverend Moon. We have nothing that is inherently ours. God gave us life unconditionally, without requiring that any contract be signed, or interest be paid back, or any loan paid back within a certain number of years. The only way we can repay Him or show our gratitude is by giving to others. Now this, I think, is very telling of who God is, because I think many people, many religions, it seems like the goal is to worship God, praise God, love God. That is what our job on this earth is to do. And I think it's important for us to get to that point where, yes, we recognize that God is our source of love. God is the source of life. True parents showed us the true heart of God. And so we love and we praise and we appreciate them. But when we get to that point, what does God say? With all that He's given us, He doesn't want us to return something necessarily to Him. He wants us to turn around and give it to others. So, another point, I keep talking about Dr. Young because if you haven't listened yet, he has such deep messages. And one thing that he was saying is, yes, we need to get to the point where we just love and adore God as our parent. He's that eternal source where we can become a generator of love ourselves. But that is an intangible relationship. The substance of that relationship is that to then take that love and appreciation and give it to our spouse. Is then to take that love and appreciation is to give it to my children and to my parents and to everybody that I come across in my life. This is from 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 through 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. So I think this is a really good, we can kind of size ourselves up according to this standard, right? Because we would maybe think, oh, the best thing I can do is to love God. And if I love God, then I am a good person. I have big faith. But actually, that's like the first step. And a more mature way of loving is to then to give that out to people. So I might be asking kind of, it's a tall order in the middle of a pandemic. We have a lot of worries, health worries, financial worries, relationship worries, worries with school, worries with work. It's a tall order to ask, to not just give our Thanksgiving prayer around the dinner table. Oh, thank you, God, for this, our family, and this year, and we love you, and time to eat. But to actually not just say those words, but to help God feel that appreciation, right? Because we can't hide behind a nice prayer in front of God. Just like if I tell Reverend Tete, oh, I'm so happy to see you today, Reverend Tete. But in my heart, I'm worried that he might be judging my sermon. Oh, I don't think my message is too good today. I wish he wasn't here, because he knows. I don't feel that way. But, we can't do that to God. We can't just say a nice prayer and think we've checked the box. What touches God's heart is the experience of love. And so this year, how can we find our most sincere gratitude and appreciation? And if we look deep, we realize that doesn't come from our circumstances. And then take it one more step and share that sincere love and appreciation with the people in our life. Sometimes we have to fake it a little bit until we make it. I think that it goes both ways. Like, if it's really in our heart, it's naturally expressed. But sometimes we have to kick ourselves in the butt a little bit to be able to say something nice to somebody, or to do an act of service for somebody we might be struggling with. But if we really try to do it with our hearts, and we do this, it's an action, right? We've done something in reality. And the action has a reaction, right? We get some vitality elements from that. We get some energy because I did something I didn't think I could do, and I get the benefit of that. And then next time, maybe I can do it with more sincere love and appreciation. True Father said, it might take your whole life. It's okay. But don't give up, right? so I'm so grateful for all of you here today. I'm so happy that we are able to be here today. I know we wanted to have our annual kids sleepover and make a nice Thanksgiving lunch for everybody, and it's different this year, but that's okay. I'm just so grateful that we're able to share this time with each other. And for our brothers and sisters who aren't here, I hope that we can not just think about them and pray for them, but that we can each reach out to those people too and express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for them being in our life. And whether or not they gather around your Thanksgiving table, it's that heart that people will feel, not the turkey they eat, right? But with true love is always felt, because that goes beyond the words that you say. It touches people's spirits and moves their hearts. So let's move God's heart by showing our gratitude and then share that with others. So please join me in prayer. Most beloved Heavenly Parent, good morning. Thank you so much for a glorious Sunday, such a beautiful week. We're so grateful to be here with you, Heavenly Parent. As we head into our Thanksgiving time and then into Christmas, there's a lot of history in these holidays that involve you, God. And it's a time of year when people really start to think about Jesus and to think about gratitude and to think about what they can do to give. But even so, I think most people have never really understood your true heart towards Jesus, towards America, and towards each one of us, Heavenly Parent. We thank you so much for Reverend and Mrs. Moon, our true parents, who've revealed not only your glory, but also your pain and your just unending sacrificial love to reach us no matter what, Heavenly Parent. For that alone, we can be grateful. So I pray as we go into this week that we can carry that in our hearts and not just worry about the preparations for the meal, but we can worry about how to become a reflection of you to this world, Heavenly Parent. And we know that whether or not we gather around the table this year, but if we are resembling you, and if we take one step closer this week and this holiday season to understanding your heart, becoming a substantiation of your love to the people in our life, that we are also touching your heart, God. Thank you so much for your patience with us, for your love for us. We want to return it to you by sharing it with others. And I offer this prayer in my name, Michael and Adonia Hendrick, blessed your family. Amen and adieu. Okay, thank you, everybody.